I didn't see any responses to the agenda email as to whether or not, Kent or Mr. Fortier plans on attending,
Yeah, I didn't see a response either.
but let me just see if Kathleen's heard from either of them.
Right, since nobody else is here, or why don't we talk about
The board.
Glenn? Yeah, Glenn, you're here just for 20 the Boulevard, right?
Yes.
Okay. Everything you would ever want to know about 20 the Boulevard.
Cool, there's a lot that I wanna know about it.
Okay. This is the file copy, it's the original letter. Why don't we go through that, and then we can, let you go home.
Well, I don't have much to say on that. Those are, but my understanding is those are just copies of the existing archaeological surveys.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing that we're supposed to be doing for 20 the Boulevard was to,
Vote for the consultant,
right,
and which would probably need to go to an executive session. All right,
well,
I
we
guess
don't need to go to an executive session to vote, we only need to go to an executive session to,
to discuss,
oh, cause there was the updated thing, so,
Yeah.
okay.
okay, so, okay. So,
Review board.
Yes.
okay, we've got the archaeological survey by Elizabeth Norris. And the shoreline map. Now, am I correct that you also dropped off the updated EAF? Because there was one that,
Well, to be perfectly honest, I was just handed that. You should say.
that's in there?
This is just saying that it's these two, this is just the cover letter for these two items.
The EAF just came in last week, didn't it?
Yeah, because I remember we got an email from Jeff saying that it was dropped off.
Yeah, and it would be useful if you had electronic copies of that. Because, you know, the paper copies are, you have to distribute it to eventually to the consultants and the judge.
One for you.
Oh,
One for you. One for you.
Thank you.
And one for me. Okay.
This is the EAF part.
Okay. As well as the site. Okay. Let's see if there's anything else in here. Okay, this is stuff already issued, referral, a little booklet, and the application. So let's do this. And let's put this in there. So at least we have everything in one place. All right, so we have the EAF, and then each of these, there are 4 site plans.
Probably more, yeah, they probably gave you, I don't know what many sheets, how many sheets are there?
There are 4.
It's a 4-sheet set, yeah. It's a 4-sheet set.
Okay, and then this is
And he probably just gave you.
The erosion control plan.
Yeah, that shows all of the disturbance, which
Okay.
is really the critical element.
Now, on these, because we ultimately need to do this over to whoever the consultant is, right? So I would assume that we can get electronic copies of these.
Yes.
Is
Okay.
Margaret McManus the person to contact about that?
You know, and
Okay.
All right. So everybody has a whole bunch of stuff to go over. Is there anything else that we need at this time from Glenn? Or from the applicant?
No.
Okay. What we're gonna do today is take a vote on a proposed consultant. And what we'll do, we take a vote on a recommendation, make a recommendation to the village board. And we will forward the information to them and they will start the process. Now, with the other applicants now, I'll make the offer to you too, or to the Watson Sutton residents. In reviewing this, we have in the past had a special evening where this was the only thing on the agenda. Probably we'll wind up doing the same thing for this.
I think it's easier.
Yeah.
I mean, you were
That's
there
fine.
at the last one, so.
And the last two times we've done that, we've had the village attorney also present.
Okay. All right,
that's fine.
so with that, you can stick around, but thank you very much, Glenn.
Well, I'm gonna wait to hear your vote. I mean, are you going into executive session on that?
Well, we're gonna go into executive session because we have to talk about the scope that they have in their RFI. So, do
But
I,
we do that at the end of our.
Well, it's the last item on the agenda, and I know that Marianne said that she was going to want to be here for the vote as well.
you know if,
But that was scheduled
I
for
understand that she's coming. I haven't
She-
spoken.
9:40 p.m. She told Catherine
Okay.
she would be here.
well, all right, and then, if you wanna hold off until she comes, well, basically, it's just gonna be the vote, right? I mean, that's about all we can do.
Okay.
All right, and you're here for who?
The signage for Phillipstown Reformed Synagogue.
Okay. Let's see when that is on the agenda.
That's 920, I
I,
believe, B.
I believe the previous item on the agenda was 7 Fair Street.
we have 7 Fair Street, 30 Fair Street under old business.
Mhm.
New business, we have Butterfield Library. Then we have 1 Chestnut Street, which is Reformed Synagogue. And
Tony Boulevard.
20 Boulevard?
20
Oh,
Boulevard.
yeah.
Board business.
Yeah.
Board business to vote on that, yeah.
And Kathleen had requested that the chapel application be pulled. Do we know whether that actually happened? She has a material question.
We can look it up later.
On the chapel restoration?
Yeah, she had indicated, I don't know if the email was, I think the email might have been to Jeff. That the material on this proposed application was the same material that was proposed for the chapel, and she just wanted to confirm that. But
Okay.
it doesn't look like it.
You mean the actual physical material, that like composite stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she sent that to Jeff at 2 p.m. So.
All right.
Might not have happened.
Then
She
let's
put it in here.
let's go ahead and go into executive session and at least talk about the response to the RFPs.
Okay.
Is there any reason why we should not do that right
I
now?
think we should do the Reformed Synagogue signage first, because that'll be, signage is typically a,
Condensed. All
Brief
right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Then
chapel's not in there.
Okay. I don't know, did the stuff come back yet from the, Thomas, do you know if the stuff came back yet from the digitizers?
Don't know yet.
Okay.
Okay, come on down.
Thank
Have a seat. Pull up the chair.
Chair? All the way up?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
So why don't you describe for us what you're proposing be constructed?
Okay. The proposal is to create a sign that would be placed adjacent to the existing sign of St. Mary's Church. And it would be a little bit smaller, a little bit narrower, a little bit shorter. Respectfully, understanding that we are simply using the facilities of St. Mary's, the parish hall, for our worship services and other events. And St. Mary's is very gracious in inviting us to put the sign next to their sign. And so we designed a sign that was
Nice.
visually reflective of their shape, more or less, and their size, just a little smaller, but is in every way intended to be compatible, different, but compatible with the sign for St. Mary's. And I think you got pictures of it, right?
Mhm.
There you go, that's exactly right. So it's just got a Star of David at the top, so people could visually get a quick glance, know it was a synagogue.
Right.
Phillipstown Reformed Synagogue. It's got our logo with the Highlands and the Hudson River. And we picked up the same type of language that they have at the bottom of St. Mary's, and we put meeting in the parish hall and our phone number, and that's it.
Okay, we have nothing to do with what the sign says or the message.
Okay?
So, that's fine.
Or the
Um,
color.
Or the color.
Okay.
But what we do, what we are interested in are the materials. Now, I see that you've got the wood posts.
Correct. Wood posts.
What is the material of the board, the sign board?
The material that the sign makers have recommended is something called Xtira. Xtira, I believe it is. Not Xterra, but just Xtira, Xtira.
I don't need to be rude. I'm gonna look up on my phone the minutes from the meeting where we met with the chapel, and then look up on my computer the
If it's the same
or,
stuff.
or the agenda. I mean, and then I'll look up the minutes on my computer,
I think
and I'll be
it's-
able to see what the materials were.
It's
because
from a couple of years ago, that meeting. It wasn't the
is that
most,
far back? Okay, then.
it wasn't
I
that one that
wasn't
we had
even
with them, because that was for their
I
collapsible.
thought maybe I wrote them up in 2016, but okay.
No, I think it may even be older. than
Okay, it
that.
predates that then.
The material is what this sign right here is made out of. This is the good folks at Fast Signs.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I said, can you give me a sample, please, of the material that I can bring to the review board and show to the Historic District Review Board? And they said, well, I don't have any sample except this one sign that we have made up in the material. I said, okay, may I please borrow this just for this presentation? And they said, sure. So you're welcome to, pardon me for the size of this enormous thing, but you're welcome to feel it, look at it, examine it.
That's a lot less plasticky than.
Yeah.
And it's
it
going
is.
to be carved, it's going to be only painted and not carved, is that right?
No, it's painted and carved.
Oh, it's
Just like
painted
this is
and
painted
carved.
and carved, right.
Do you know what the material of the present St. Mary's sign is made out of?
I do not.
I do, it's wood. Because I was there when they submitted it.
Okay.
I believe it's Xtira. I was trying to Google it today, and I did exterior versus wood, and
Engraved signage, double-sided, and steel metal brackets to attach to it.
they recommend this particular material because they say it lasts longer than wood lasts. They say it is designed specifically to resist insects, weathering, termites, outdoor exposure. In other words, these are the sign professionals,
Mhm.
and this is what they recommend as the 2017 best practice sign for long-lasting results and good-looking sign, takes the carving well, takes the paint well, and this is their recommendation. By the way, if you, this is not a light thing, these happen to be little plastic things, just it's in it, I couldn't take them out.
Yeah.
But if you lift this thing up, this is pretty substantial weight, it's not a piece of plastic, you know, this is a hefty thing. And we
Yeah,
would have-
I think, I'll speak for myself, but I guess the only reservation I have about the entire application really has to do with material for the board.
Okay.
Because I would assume that, looking at this, the one blade underneath is also gonna be the same material?
Correct, correct.
And is that going to be carved as well, or is that going to be just painted?
Carved as well.
Carved as well. Okay.
I think it's a better look, carved, I think it's a classier look.
Okay.
And it's that thickness.
Yes, it would be this, that's correct, it would be this thickness, that's correct.
The posts are wood, are they, treated wood or what? Painted or?
Yes, the posts are designed to be identical to the existing posts of St. Mary's. Those are wood posts, and they will be painted and finished. I believe they'll be varnished or lacquered, again, to make them
Weather resistant.
stay in power, weatherized, right.
And how about this black band, is that gonna be painted?
The black band is going to be painted, that's correct, that's exactly right.
But I mean, is it, in other words, I guess my question has to do with if someone came up and saw it, would they see a trim piece, or would it be just the board itself with a black stripe?
If you're looking down from the top,
Mm-hmm.
it would be black, so that's painted black along the top.
But it's not a trim piece, in other words, it just the painted material.
Right, it will be painted, this is all painted.
Right.
Exactly right. And then it's painted around the perimeter here as well. And the only thing I believe that is actually white, and it's not painted, is, in our sign, it'll say Phillipstown Reformed Synagogue, just like this. I don't think this is painted, honestly. I believe that the material itself is
material.
white.
Yeah.
That's right, so that's the color of the material, and anything that's not the color of the white material itself, which is a solid board, as I understand it, will be painted.
Mhm.
Like this is green and, you know, yellow and so on. And so we would have blue paint and black paint and green paint. And then the white is just carved out.
I'm not opposed to it being a synthetic material in concept, but I do think that the exposed material is kind of what gives it away, judging from this sign. So if there was a way to maybe paint the carving in the same light tone as the sky, just so that it's not this like raw plastic, you know, so that the carving itself is painted in the way like the 33 is painted in gold.
Right.
Yeah.
Suggesting that the words Phillipstown Reformed Synagogue be painted in the same blue as the Hudson River?
As the sky.
Oh, as the sky, the lighter blue.
That's a lighter shade of blue, right? Those
Yes, it
that's
is.
two shades
That's
of blue.
correct, a lighter shade of blue.
I think it would help to kind of cover up the. It would help to cover up this sort of raw plastic core. I don't know if anyone else
At the
feels
pleasure
that
of
way.
the review board, if that's important, I don't think there would be any problem with that. I think it pops a little better when it's white, quite honestly. I think that the name pops.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the text. I mean, this looks like just freshly painted wood to me.
Mm-hmm.
If I felt it, I wouldn't necessarily know the difference, and it doesn't bother me.
All right, I guess, I think I've said my piece. Carolyn?
I don't have a problem with it, I think it's just fine.
All right, I guess my concern is the material, because basically you're gonna have this sign which, when you come up to it, you see that it's plastic next to the St. Mary's sign, which is wood.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I guess that's the part that bothers me.
Well, with all due respect, I'm not sure it's evident that this is a piece of plastic. I'm not sure it is a piece of plastic. It's some kind of a composite for sure. I can't tell you exactly the nature of the composite.
I have seen it, this is foam PVC.
Okay,
That's what the material is.
okay. All right. You are a informed, experienced person with discernment when it comes to understanding the nature of these things. I think the average person walking down the street probably wouldn't recognize this as foam PVC, particularly when it's all painted black. You see the white.
Yeah, so this edge is going to be black.
This will be all painted
Yeah,
black.
that doesn't, I mean, I think that disguises this raw edge. You know,
Right.
typically, if this was wood, this would be sanded smooth.
Well, that's the same reason why I was suggesting that the carved lettering also be painted as well. Because I think that the more it is a painted finish and not an exposed plastic finish, the less plasticky it'll look ultimately.
Yeah, I think this is painted though.
Yeah, I think
I
you may
think
be
this is
right.
painted. I don't think that this is.
This isn't the same material
No, I
as this?
think if you feel this is sanded better, but I think this, and I'm here, I think this is painted for sure. I don't think that's just like the raw material.
Right, because I think,
It would be a lot rougher.
I think you're right, it'll be rougher and
Yeah,
coarser.
when they painted it, it sealed the edges.
If that's foam core, how do they, gouge it out to that depth?
Yeah.
We are into sign making,
How do they gouge it out to that depth? What do you mean?
Right, like
Question.
if,
Well, I
if this
mean,
had foam in the middle, Carolyn's asking a
Yeah,
question,
I
I was
mean,
wondering
particularly since
too.
it's going to be done on both sides. So there has
I
to
mean,
be
it
like
seems solid.
that much foam in the middle.
Well,
Are we
overall
sure it's
thickness
not-
And the thing
is
is
what, an inch?
Mhm.
Close to it, but yeah, so if you've got quarter inch deep on each side, then you've gotta have some depth behind the carving. So, I mean, the amount of, particularly since it's a heavy sucker,
Right, right.
I mean,
I'm just-
you know,
I'm just a little bit questioning whether it really is foam core.
Well, I don't think, foam core is, I'm not sure it's, extruded, PVC. I think it's a,
let's find out.
This is PVC, this thing that they just happen to have here.
Yeah, that's just a
Yeah.
supporting element.
That's just
so you can
supporting,
see.
right, that,
Right.
and this is
No,
not.
no, no.
I know, but because they produce, trim pieces and that, it's the same thing as Azek.
Yeah.
It's the same material.
Mhm. Right. I think they refer to it as panels. When I was looking it up earlier today, they referred to these exterior panels.
Right, and
As
the
the
panels
basic-
is just the
Yeah,
board.
it's just a board, exactly right.
Well, I still think that the more of it that can be painted, the better, regardless of what color it is.
Suppose it's totally painted. I would propose to make sure it's totally painted, so make sure every letter is painted and it's painted along the top, and there's no exposed coarse edges anywhere.
Sure. Honestly, I think it looks fine. I think it's also nice to see a sign that is not going to peel, and I mean, it doesn't look so low maintenance that it's fake to the naked eye in terms of its materials. I think it imitates a wood sign very convincingly
Mhm.
in terms of both the feel of the object and the appearance of the object, and it would be nice not to have a peeling sign.
Agreed.
So, I mean,
We want
what
our
looks
signs
work,
to
I don't know.
look
I
good
mean,
and
I
last
do
forever.
prefer wood, but only wood that's going to be taken care of.
Well, doesn't it bother anybody that you're gonna have the two signs right next to each other?
My opinion is no, because these were signs constructed in two different time periods, and
Well, it's not like this sign goes back to the 1800s.
no, I know,
No,
but even if it was 20
Well,
years
neither does
though,
the other one. I mean,
it's from a different
The
time.
other one's been there for some time and it's already weathered somewhat, so
Yeah.
I mean, you see a new sign
They're not going to match.
next to a sign that's been there for number of years.
What I think looks worse is when you try to do, you know, matchy and the things just never quite gel.
Don't age at the
It's a
same
little-
rate.
They don't age at the same rate, and that I frankly think looks worse. And also, I mean, I think it would be nice to advertise, just on the side, I mean, it's nice, like, people will notice the new sign and say, oh, what's going on in town, you know? So I don't really see it as problematic, but I might be in the minority.
I don't say it's a problem either.
I mean, signs are kind of utilitarian structure, and I think as long as
And
we
it's
don't have.
easily reversible, so.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's,
it's,
you know, we
That's
deal with
right.
signs all the
Can be
time, and they're
removed.
kind of like a, you know, like almost like a utility fixture is the way I see them, so they're just not that permanent.
it is
Um,
also within the best interest of the applicant and their landlord that it remain looking good. So
Right.
I am confident that if at any point it is not looking good, it would probably be
But Al, I
corrected.
know you like wood, and I'm really sorry.
No, I mean, you know, the whole point is, you know, raise all the issues now
Right.
before you take the vote.
You know, one of the things we're doing is we're reviewing our design standards, and this is the thing we keep running into, is that we have these new materials that aren't addressed in our design standards, then we have to have this discussion, we have to figure out how we feel about these new materials, and we're gonna have to introduce some of them, or not by name, we can't do brand names or things like that, but, we have to kind of consider how these conversations are going to,
Okay.
go forward, so.
So let us, you know, we have the application, we talked about all of the things, and I think the only point that I sense that is going to be approved, do we put a note on it which says that all surfaces are to be painted?
Yes, please.
Great. Excellent.
Okay, so
What is your name?
do I have,
James Thomas Shower.
Oh, I see, okay. Kathy is on the application.
Kathy Duke is the president of the synagogue. I'm a past president.
Okay,
She's
great.
unavailable today. She's out of town, so
Thanks.
happy to be able to sit in and
do I have a motion to accept the application as submitted with a note saying that all surfaces to be painted?
I would first move that we vote on secret for it.
Okay. Do I have a motion concerning SEGRAPH?
I would move that it is a type 2 because it is a sign and reversible. And
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, do I have a motion concerning the application with a note, all surfaces to be painted?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I would second that.
Okay, Carolyn?
Aye.
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 All right, I'll vote no, just to uphold
The record show.
the record that, I think it should be wood.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the consideration of the board greatly, and I'm grateful for your time this evening. Well done.
Thank you.
for coming. Well
Yeah,
done.
all right.
Sean, you seconded, correct?
I seconded the, yes,
Application fee.
the application vote. Yep.
Okay.
No, we're not doing this.
Take care.
Okay,
Should
good
we
night.
Nice.
bump back to
7 First Street,
31st Street?
or 31st?
31st Street.
And this was 1 Chestnut Street.
Quite entertaining because I do sign enforcement work.
Ooh.
Do you?
It's so much worse
Who do you do that for?
than to the city.
For New York City?
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
most of it's advertising stuff,
Oh
but
boy.
only injured threats of criminal court.
Mm-hmm.
And even
Criminal court, you don't need signage?
well, yeah, when they fail to comply, we can
Oh,
take
oh.
it to
Mm.
criminal court.
But that's for structure, not content.
Um, both. The content renders it illegal, so the structure and all of it is illegal.
Oh, wait, what?
Well, they tie together. You put it there for a purpose, so if the content purpose is illegal, then all of it's illegal.
But what,
No,
what
very fair.
jurisdiction or content does the city have for signage?
Zone, all of the zone, content, advertising or accessory.
Oh,
Is the word
And Carolyn?
saloon still forbidden in your?
Pass me back the.
I don't know that it ever was.
Isn't
For most
it-
anything.
I know,
Not in my 15 years of doing it, no.
oh,
well, she left in the 1880s, so.
Yeah. Stop. McSorley's, was it there when you were there?
no, it wasn't, it was,
Why was saloon?
it was, on the Upper West Side, it was somebody's
It's
balloon.
always those
Jake's.
people on the
Called
upper one.
Balloon.
Jake's Saloon.
Yeah,
Jake's,
no, there was
yeah, on
there was a
Amsterdam.
restaurant called something or other's Balloon,
Oh.
and they called it Balloon because it might have been state law that prohibited the use of the word saloon at
Oh my
the time.
goodness.
I couldn't use
Um,
pub.
They weren't that hip back then. This is going back to the sixties, I'm talking
Oh,
The, if, we were about out of toner when I did the rear
that's okay.
images, if these are any better for you, I don't know.
Prefer.
Even these are kind of dark, it's just the sun. But I took, we addressed a bunch of issues from last time. I'm a little confused where I am. And, so I was left a little confused at the end of last meeting about materials. And so I asked the architect to take a very broad look and say here that depending on where it is and what you prefer, it would either be stained or wrapped and painted. I was told by you to take a look around and see what sort of was similar or what might be on point in the village. And time and again, including at my neighbor's house, I sort of come across the post with a cap
Mm-hmm.
being wrapped, if that's something that's acceptable. And I thought that would be the best appearance, especially from the distance that this is from any viewpoint.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a good way to go. Again, I was left a little confused last time with, sort of seems like what was the supports and what's above the deck. You tell me what works. When I thought about it, I couldn't really sort of, but, I thought we would do everything sort of above the deck level in the cedar. But anything that's a major support that's done in, pressure treated, we would wrap
Okay,
with pine and paint it.
alright.
So if, that seemed to be the best structurally and for the appearance.
I think that's sufficient based on what we discussed.
Yeah.
It was also what we discussed with 32 Market Street, same issue where they had
Yeah, as I looked around, it
quite
seems that's
tall,
what everybody does
exposed
with them.
members.
Yeah, and, well, except that's a little bit different than this house, but I think that what you're describing is what we had talked about with your application.
Yeah, I mean, I would certainly want it to be attractive and
Mm-hmm.
the details are never going to be visible from the streets, but I mean, for our purposes, we would want it to be consistent with what appears to belong there. And our fence out front right now, you can see is just an old picket style thing, but my neighbor, I guess many years ago, that one to the far right, the white fence that's in the middle of the image there is just sort of near Main Street. They did a beautiful job on the fence and everything there this summer.
I guess from the drawings, it's not really very clear what's
Yeah.
new and existing,
Okay.
so,
So the entire deck and porch structure is new. There were a couple of fine points here because we have a couple of different things we'd like to do.
On the upper level, there's a bathroom vent.
Right,
Structure is not changing at all, just the vent.
right,
On the main floor, the kitchen range vent, there's one there now, this is going to be just relocated. The bathroom window on the main floor, it's, just relocated, slightly relocated. And the back vent on the main floor is new. But there's nothing structurally other than that porch deck element that is new on the outside of the house. I wanted to present you with the rest of these, just so we can kind of move forward, you know, on little projects as we can. The AC compressor and the line going up the side of the house, on the right side elevation, number 3, that is new. And that's the totality of it. As I said, we're hoping to, I'm sorry, the kitchen windows in the back, there's 3 on elevation 5. Right now, there's 3 very big windows there. These are actually more, these are what should go on the house, more in line with what should be there.
okay, essentially what you're talking, what is being changed is the addition of the porch and the deck, and then you're changing the windows and the kitchen,
Right.
and I guess,
Yeah, and those will really look better than what's there now, is just these sliders that really
Yeah.
don't belong.
This.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They actually let a wonderful light into the house,
Mm.
but they're really not appropriate for the
well,
house.
are you changing the window above, in the bathroom above?
With a
This one?
modern version of exactly what's there, no change in the trim at all on the outside, just the window itself.
Okay,
It's
but
basically the
it's same-
sashes.
Is it the same size?
Yeah, everything the same, no change.
So you're just changing the window?
Right,
Okay, so you're changing this, and you're changing all of this?
right, and a good point, so this right now is a kitchen window,
Mhm.
that area is going to become a half bath. We're just sliding it slightly over,
Yeah, this one.
Toward,
pretty much,
towards here.
it would be on this side, I'm sorry, this window. And this is.
And this one changes,
No,
no?
no, the kitchen to become the new half bath is actually, like a big jalousie window.
Mhm.
It doesn't open, it just leaks. So we're gonna do a double hung.
I was gonna say, these windows must be hurting you in terms of energy efficiency.
They're not bad, they're actually, they look like they're from the 80s. They're thermopaint.
Oh,
They're not bad. The
jeez.
whole house is fairly airtight, just you can't operate
Yeah,
the windows.
that's a problem.
All right, do I have a motion concerning secret status?
Single-family house alteration, I move those type 2.
Second?
I
Second.
second. I,
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
what's the existing siding on the house? Is it all wood?
It's all asbestos.
It's all asbestos.
And
Yeah.
I would
Transit.
like to, at some point in the future, work on the rest of the windows and the siding, but that's a ways off.
Okay.
Yeah, we're
So-
leaving, so the envelope is staying exactly the same.
So as
All right.
far as patching in areas where windows are moving and changing
Yeah.
size,
Yep, we will use, believe it or not, I still have some of the asbestos, which if it's legal to install, we will.
okay.
If not, I understand they make a material that is similar,
Yeah,
that can be used, that will will
on our
use.
first house is covered in asbestos, we have
Yeah.
panels that matched and.
The new pieces for the porch, though, we're going to use clapboard. It's more appropriate for it.
Okay, any questions from the board?
I mean, other than, cut sheets on windows and things, which we normally see,
Yeah, so the outside, as I said, there'll be no changes at all. But I am completely aware of whether I should say it's going to be included here. I really just did like a screenshot out of the district book to say what a window should look like. It's really very simple, and we're happy to do
Well,
that.
Well, I think what Carolyn's asking for is a catalog cut of the window that you're planning on
Yeah, the
installing.
manufacturer's, catalog cut.
Okay, so the upper window is not going to change at all on the outside. The kitchen windows will, and the new bathroom. Should I just give you those two?
Yeah, or whatever.
Well, but the upper
So
window is,
whatever-
it's still gonna be a
whatever
new
windows you change.
window.
Yes,
It's just of a
within
similar design, but we should just still see
Okay.
the
and
cuts
Whatever
for
windows you change.
all any new windows,
You call that I'm sorry,
a
what?
catalog cut.
Catalog cut, okay.
You know, it comes from the manufacturer's catalog, like Anderson
Okay.
or Pella or
Right.
Marvin or whatever.
And if I'm right, they can't be vinyl, they can be vinyl wrapped wood or wood.
Right.
Is that right? Okay.
The other thing is that the drawings are really very unclear what is existing and what is new. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
what-
Has he noted those as replaced or not? Sorry, maybe not. And I'll mark those and make sure you get them the way you want them.
For example, let's just go elevation by elevation. Okay. On elevation 2, is anything changing there?
No.
Okay. Elevation 3. Now, obviously, this is all new construction.
Right, nothing else.
Okay, then, we've got painted wood lattice panels, but obviously this is sitting on something, and,
He gave that detail. He said with 1x4 surround.
Where is that?
Is that, I have it on 6 and I have it on 5. You're talking about, I discussed that with him, along the bottom edge, you're concerned?
mhm.
You're talking about the frame for the lattice?
Yeah.
No, not the frame for the lattice,
Oh.
but behind the lattice, obviously, this is not sitting on the lattice.
Right.
This is sitting on structural members.
So he's put in a sort of, 5, he has a dotted line around it, and then on 6, he has also just in the note there, on 1x4 surround at edge. So,
But
that- yeah,
that's pointing to the lattice, and we have no idea that is pointing. In other words,
Yeah.
what does the structure look like? Because
In
you're
other
gonna see
words,
that through the lattice.
The trim on that lattice is not
Right.
just sitting on the ground. It's,
Yeah.
there's something where those posts are sitting on, right?
right, so I discussed with him, because there are not very big distances between these supports, a 1x4 behind the lattice that it would attach to at ground level. And
The vertical posts, what are they sitting on?
mm-hmm.
What are they sitting on?
Yeah, and see, what that note is telling me is that these are lattice panels, which are, crossing, usually they're like 1x2s, with a 1x4 surround at the porch deck edge. In other
Right.
words, so what that is describing is the panel itself, is this. It's describing this,
Right,
but this porch is sitting on something like, right over here, you've got a post, you've got a post.
right, you're talking about down here, what is it?
Well, what is that made of?
Oh, the post is this,
Yeah,
that he's got detailed here as a 6x6, pressure treated post.
okay.
And
It's not just sitting on dirt though. It's not just sitting on dirt, it's sitting on something. It's sitting on a
Concrete.
structure.
Is
Concrete.
it set in concrete?
it would have,
Yeah.
well, it would be required to sit in concrete,
Well, of
right?
course, but is any of that going to be exposed? Or is this just
Oh.
flush with the dirt?
No, we would wanna keep it at ground level, I wouldn't want to have that sticking up. Yeah, I hadn't
Or do you
considered
have-
that.
Or do you have brick around it or something like that? Because you're not just going to have, you
Mhm.
know, the trim, the
Right.
edge of that lattice
Right,
sitting against the dirt.
right.
Particularly if it's wood.
Right, well, what I had considered was the concrete that's necessary for the support at ground level, going up from there with the pressure treated, and just above the soil, the trim for the lattice.
So there would just be like a,
So it's just above
a
the
gap.
dirt. Yeah, you wouldn't want it to
You'd have
constantly.
a gap, I mean, but,
Right.
you know, but, so if you have a gap, then you're gonna have some exposure of that structure, of the substructure.
Mhm.
It's gonna happen.
no, I think what the applicant is referring to is that the panel is going to be the frame of the lattice. There's going to be a space between the bottom of the frame and the dirt itself. It's gonna be hung between two posts, so it's
Yeah.
gonna be essentially suspended between two posts, and
Right.
then there's just
Okay.
gonna be
Right, yeah, to
a
keep it
gap.
out of the
And the
soil.
entire, you know, the sonotube thing underneath is gonna be completely.
Yeah, yeah. I
Well, the
would want that.
sonotubes are just gonna be at the posts
Right,
themselves,
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
and they'll just be
right, no, below
Below.
ground,
around.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll see a little bit of.
They'll be at the surface. I mean, I think that it's
Yeah, I wouldn't want to
unless
see
it's a
those.
crazy. I don't think that there's
It's
a
pretty-
grade change
pretty level.
that's significant enough that you wouldn't be able to marry the
Mm.
for a 6x6 post. But how big is the?
There's a funny grade change
Yeah.
between the neighbor's property and theirs, that's the
Mhm.
whole thing, so.
Right,
No, I know, but I'm saying where the actual footing itself is going into the ground. How big is the footing going to be for a 6x6 post?
yeah.
12 inches across,
Yeah,
probably.
about that, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think this grade change is so significant that a 12-inch piece of concrete is going to have a big cut to the side.
Well, but what I heard,
You're still gonna have wood pretty close to that dirt, and snow and leaves and everything else.
you said that you didn't wanna see the top of the sonotube.
No.
No.
Alright, so then what will you see?
Well, I mean, you may see, you know, ever so slightly, just to keep it above the soil level,
Okay,
and from there, whatever's required to engineer the post going up. I'm not sure how it's attached. They don't put the wood directly. I think they use like a metal attachment now,
yeah,
right?
it's usually
So it doesn't
a
rot.
metal
Yeah,
bracket, which is
So-
cast into the sonotube.
right,
Mhm.
right. Whatever you'd like in the way of a drawing. I had envisioned it as that was what was required, so I didn't
Yeah,
really have them detail it.
I'm just surprised your architect didn't provide it.
Well,
I don't think
And-
I've ever
and
seen a
let's
detailed
take-
drawing of how a post is being attached to a sonotube on a deck.
Well, no, but we see drawings of how piers are all the time.
Well, when they're being treated decoratively, anyway.
well, let's
Well,
deal,
no, not anyway, not anyway, because typically you see piers, we see brick piers all the time.
I don't
Or
disagree.
we see like some sort of concrete or stone or brick underlayment that lattice is sitting on. We don't just see it going right against the soil or very close to it. Generally we see a little bit more detail there.
I don't recall ever seeing that for
I mean,
a
you know-
back porch in this in this
I recall seeing that.
treatment.
I recall seeing
sure, why? But let's talk about the easy stuff first, and then we'll get to
Okay.
the structure. Alright, let's look at, the, detail number one, which talks about the porch.
Mm-hmm.
Screen system, screen with channel, now what does that mean?
So, we at minimum had found a system that is a 3/4 inch channel and that the screen is laid into, or in the alternative, I would just have individual panels custom made to lay in from the outside. This system, which the architects that they use quite often, gives you the ability to build a channel and then just put in your screen.
Okay, so we should have, it's actually a metal channel, right?
Yeah, yeah. And it actually comes in white, which is what we plan on doing for it. And the 3/4 inch seems to be really as small as you could probably get for using that.
All right, does anybody have any objection to the upper portion of this? We've got 1x6 cedar rakes, 1.5 inch by 2 by 6 inch bevel cedar siding, the screen with the metal channel, the cedar cap rail, and it looks like everything is basically cedar on the back porch above the structural supports, which we'll talk about later. If you look at detail 4, they're all cedar,
So,
cedar.
Interior and against the screen exterior,
Mhm.
you have essentially a railing with balusters
Right,
all around.
right.
Okay, so if you took off the screens, you would still have
You'd
that.
still have the railing, right, sure.
Yeah, yeah, I have no objection to this design.
Well, I guess the one question that I do have is that, does the railing run from the 4x4 post to the 4x4? I guess it does. Okay.
Good point.
But the screen, these screen panels are still set depth-wise front to back. They're still
And
flush to or set in from the post.
Just in from the post.
Just in
I
from the
think.
post.
Yeah. Is there a preference on that depth? Would you rather have them against the rail, or is there any?
I think slightly recessed is better.
Yeah.
So this screen system is fixed, it's not removable,
Right.
so
Well,
wouldn't that have some trim around the edge as well then? Maybe so?
The metal channel itself is,
Is it,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, in the bottom corner, it shows how it's installed.
do I see this? Oh.
So it looks like where that little wheel is installing it, that would be from the inside.
So the channel is laid in,
Okay,
the screens
there's
are
a slide
cut,
in there.
right,
Okay.
yeah.
So really, in order for this to actually be removed,
You'd have to really
you'd have
take it
to
apart.
do a heavy dismantling. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it.
Well, yeah. Undo a couple of screws in the channel and that's it.
Well, and he's also would have to remove all of his lengths of railing, because the screens are going to have to go in before the railing is set. Because the screen is attached from the inside.
From the inside or the outside? Screen's attached to the outside, what they're
Yeah,
showing here.
the spline, I guess.
The outside of the railing.
Yeah, the spline is on the outside.
No, I know, but look at how it's actually constructed in that drawing. Is that you have this frame. The frame is going to be facing the garden, and the screen is attached to the back side of the frame, which would then mean that the screen would have to be, the frame would be installed, the screen would be attached to it from the deck itself, and then the railing would have to be put
Yeah.
in place behind that. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to make your way around the screen to install it.
Well, actually,
No, you do it from the outside.
yeah.
Okay.
Actually, there is more of an issue here, because if the posts are 4x4, the top rail and the bottom rail are 2x4s, which means it's the same width as the post.
Hmm.
So you don't have any room to put the screen.
So those, yeah, I mean, clearly this will have to be inside, they'll have to reduce. Well, yeah, is a 4x4 a true 4x4, or it's small?
Well, it's 3.5 by 3.5, but then the 2x4 is
Is
inch and a
also-
half by 3.5.
Right, yeah. They'll need to compensate for that, we'll have to have that, yeah, obviously you can't stick out, yeah. I think that then that the top rail would need to be a little narrower to compensate for that.
Would a railing be required by code? Even with the screens?
Oh, yeah.
Screen,
Yeah, we'd want.
I mean, I know that a screen's not.
Yeah.
well, the screen, something needs to resist 200 pounds applied horizontally, 42 inches above the deck.
Mm-hmm.
Unless the screen is applied against the inside of the 4x4 post and it's not between the posts. Which I think is what these drawings kind of imply, these pictures.
You're
kind
saying
of-
that
So
the
then you're
screen
saying that the
attached to the
railing would be on the
railing?
outside?
No, the inside. Because that's what it looks like in some of these pictures.
But if the screen's attached to the 4x4 post. Oh, you're saying to the edges of the 4x4 post. But it's
Yeah.
still 4 inches and 4 inches.
Oh no, here you have a
No.
4x4 post.
Yeah.
Here you have the exterior, here you have the interior.
Uh-huh.
Rather than applying the railing in between the 4x4 posts, you're actually applying it on the interior.
Oh, running it, yeah.
That's the only other way you could do it if you still wanted that space with the screen on those 4x4s.
Well, although we could narrow the rail, no? The top rail.
The top rail.
Well, the
And
top and the
to
bottom rail,
allow-
because the
yeah.
bottom rail is also 2x4.
Yeah. I'll speak with him on that and see what's required. I don't know, I'd rather have it all within the 4x4, it's a much better look. But we could.
Well, and then you're not
otherwise we
losing
could just
floor
do-
space. in the
Yeah,
porch
otherwise we
itself.
could run the rail on the inside, it just seems kind of,
It kind of
Odd.
makes the railing look a little phony.
yeah,
To
like
run
it
it
was
on the
stuck on the
inside.
inside, yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, instead of running in the cavity between
Yeah.
the posts. I
Unless-
agree.
Unless there's a problem with it, I think we would just rip the, or purchase whatever the top rail, slightly narrower.
Well, the issue that you then have to deal with is that, 2x4 is sort of standard width of the top rail. That's what's keeping, providing you the resistance for something forward.
Right, that's why, yeah, like I said, I would have to ask him what's required. If he says that that's what's required by code to do it, then we would put the rail inside.
Well,
I don't know if that,
I think.
Yeah, I'm not loving it either.
Idea how this,
yeah, I'm not loving
I don't think
it.
I've ever really considered how it's done on the screen porch before.
Well, in the screen porch typically, you've got the railing between the 4x4s and the screen, and if you're adding a screen to that entire assembly,
Uh-huh.
you're doing completely to the interior of that, not to the exterior.
Right.
That
So the
also,
railing
saying
is
the railing
typically
is on the outside?
exterior.
Yeah.
if you remember the application that we heard afterward, last
Mm.
time we had.
32 market.
No,
Oh, who?
I forget exactly what's.
Oh, Elizabeth Gillespie, yes.
The rail is a solid rail,
Mm-hmm.
and the screening is only above it,
Right.
so.
But that was solid, that had no balusters, that was not an open rail, that was.
I know, but
Yeah.
that's.
But that was also sort of a weird retrofit to make it a screen porch
Right.
as opposed to an open porch.
Well,
Yeah.
what about, Jennifer, tree committee person?
Oh, Zwerg
Yes, what? When she glassed in
enclosed her.
the portion of that porch and kept the railing there, wasn't the glass, trying to remember what it's like now.
I don't know which house is hers.
She's on Main Street too. If you're looking at Whistling Willie's, and there's
She's like 2 doors up from
two
us.
up the hill.
Is it dark blue or light
Blue house, not the dark blue one.
The one house near
It's
it.
like blue and it has the roses that grow over the doorway. They have a beautiful. This is how we identify things in this town. It's an obvious enclosed former porch. It used to be
Yeah.
like a little side porch, and
Yeah.
they just basically
She enclosed a portion of it,
glazed it in.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought of doing the lower half of this as a wall of some sort, but wasn't sure. Seemed nicer as open.
And just open and breezy.
You know,
Yeah.
open breezy, probably more like.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly more light in there, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be strange to have the screen on the outside.
All right,
Probably dim
I'm
it.
gonna have to ask you to come back, because I think that the drawings are unclear, and it sounds like you've gotta work out, this particular detail, between I've marked up this drawing, you can give it to your architect, and, but let me just finalize one thing. Okay, they have a note here, all pressure treated, noted as painted with solid body stain. I'm not sure what that means.
Well,
Alternate to be wrapped with pine and painted with primer and 2 coats of
yeah,
exterior paint.
I was sort of looking to provide you with
Either or.
whichever you preferred, so I had to
Right.
do both.
I
Yeah.
would prefer essentially what it means that this is what we would get.
Okay, so from above the deck line, where the pressure treated below should also be wrapped?
Well,
opposed to
above the
stain.
deck line, you've got cedar, so you don't
Right.
need to wrap that.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
We're talking about, these are the posts
Mm-hmm.
here that we're talking about.
Okay.
And you've identified a post here, but we don't know what's there.
Yeah, this would be, we worked this out to be consistent last time after our discussion about these lining up, and move the screening all the way across to the end of the window, so there will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, plus the sides.
Okay.
Anyway, everything
But-
below the deck line, including the deck line, would be wrapped then.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, no stain, no stain, no stain. Okay. On everything below there. No stain, no stain. Okay. I told him that I didn't think that the stain was appropriate on top of the pressure treated. And so I had him provide both. I wasn't sure which one you would like.
Okay, we'll hang on to this here, you hang on to that because that's, I
Okay.
think you're gonna need that. So, on this, for example, on this sheet, on this elevation, there's no change. So you need to call that out clearly. Over here, differentiate, this is existing,
Okay.
this is new construction.
Right.
And all of the new construction, and, you know, there could be a note referring to these details where the various materials are called out. Over here, we should, this shows the lattice panel, but it doesn't show the structural post. In other words, for example, this post, there are comparable posts here,
Mm-hmm.
but where are they? And is it just one? You know, from this
It
elevation?
doesn't post this way?
Right.
So these are the supports.
No, this is the panel for the lattice.
Right.
That's what he's calling out over here.
Right.
So, but behind the lattice, you're gonna have these posts. So where are they?
I think the intent here was just to run these panels between these, because this is only, I think these are only 4
Then
feet
that-
each.
Because, well,
There's no extra.
okay, because it's a 1x4, and I don't think a 1x4 will hold up your deck.
Oh, no, he was talking about a 1x4 on the interior here.
Right, to hold the lattice.
Support the lattice.
Right, but
Right.
what is the post?
Okay, so you want the post,
Well, that's what I said,
Dimensions,
show
okay.
structural posts.
okay.
Isn't that what these aren't on the side? Aren't those vertical members that are shown the posts themselves?
I don't know that. I mean, over here, this is cedar lattice panel
Right.
with, and you know.
Here we identified a 6x6.
Okay, so it's 6x6.
Yeah. They're on the
That is
agenda.
not a 6x6.
I don't see them.
Okay.
Because this is a 4x4, and that looks about the same. So he
I wasn't
needs to
here
make that clearer so that
last
we
time
can
he came here.
understand,
Okay.
all right? Now here, because this is an elevation where you have some new materials, some existing,
Right.
you just need to call out what is, clarify what is existing. This is clear, but am I correct that this is,
Nothing's changed.
nothing's changing, so existing siding to remain?
Yeah.
things like that. So just clarify what is existing, what is new. Okay, and then here also, I just need to clarify, is this the supporting post or?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, so then that needs to be made clear.
Yeah, that 1x4 note was just as a trim.
As a trim to hold the
the
lattice.
panels,
Right.
yeah.
And then the same thing here, this is all new construction, this is all existing to remain,
Right, okay.
all right? So I think this needs to be updated, we need catalog cuts of the windows.
Mhm.
And then, on this sheet, I think, again, and I know
And you're
because
only
this is.
concerned with outside anyway.
Well, again, it needs to be clear that this is the addition. And he can do that very easily because this looks like AutoCAD, so, he changes the line weight on this and, keeps this lighter so that it's clear.
And I think it would be helpful to have a drawing of the screen panels, the posts, and the railing in plan, so we can see whatever the
Yeah.
intention is, just so that we're looking at it from above and we can see how they all line up.
Right.
That
So,
might make it a little easier to understand.
so a little detail here.
By the way, the referral, copy from the village clerk,
Yeah.
said that there were also ZBA issues here in the side setback.
There's, right, just as to the side. I was going to get this approval from you because we wanted to move ahead with some changes that don't impact the zoning, but I am beginning that with them as well.
Well, the addition of that deck in the back does
Yeah.
not impact the zoning?
It does, yeah, we're about 4 feet off the lot line there.
Okay, and you need a 10-foot setback, right?
Right.
10-foot sideline setback.
Right, but, as I said, like, the bathroom and some other things that we wanna move ahead with are historic issues, because they do impact the exterior.
Yeah, but if you don't have ZBA approval,
We'll hold off on the deck until, we won't touch that until we have it done. Because I know we can't do that until the spring anyway.
Yeah, so you wanted to get started on your bathroom.
Yeah, you sort of as budgets go.
Yeah.
I don't want to even, I don't want to put in like vents or anything like that unless I have your approval on them.
All right. Okay, so, we have a detail. This is a symbol for a detail
Right,
to show.
and you said you want it from above?
Yeah.
Okay.
In other words, basically,
Yeah, it
because.
Yeah, sort of like,
pulled out, so you
here's
can
the
kind of just
rails,
see
here's
how
where
it's
the
gonna
Yeah,
work.
this is the 4x4 post and
Right,
your rail goes like
screen.
that.
Right,
rail.
exactly, 'cause
Right.
that was the thing we're having trouble with the
Right.
drawing, figuring out what
Okay.
layer we're looking at.
Right.
Would we be able to approve just vents tonight?
Oh, no, don't worry about
That
that.
doesn't help
No.
you? Okay.
Thank you.
Any little
Any-
thing.
I know.
Any other
Well,
catalog
yeah.
cuts that were, we would wanna see?
So what is,
unless there's lighting that's being added on the exterior or,
Maybe
light
just maybe
fixtures.
inside the porch, but not outside.
well,
no.
light fixtures or, exterior hardware, or if the gutters change and things like that.
No, so,
The gutters and
I mean,
windows.
there'll be a gutter out at the end of this porch.
And where does it come down? And
Yeah.
stuff
your
like
architect should put that on the drawing.
Yeah, okay. It'll be like
I'd
the rest of
rather
the
not
world,
have
just
gutter.
like my neighbors that runs across my yard.
The December meeting is on the 13th.
Oh, that's right. We've got Thanksgiving in between.
We typically have our standing workshop meeting, which we can make a voting meeting on the 4th Wednesday, but because this month it's Thanksgiving, we have not
Okay.
scheduled that workshop, but we'll
Yeah.
let you know.
All right.
So should I shoot everything back to you before the meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
so that,
I'll do that.
at least we'll,
I'll just send this back to you in the detail and see if that's
I,
where we need to be.
yes, I'll remember.
Okay.
You can release it, that's fine.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, you.
Your time?
Oh, thanks for
Good night.
coming.
Take care. Have a nice Thanksgiving.
Thank you. too.
So,
Library's
who's
not here.
presenting for? Oh, I've lost
Our
track.
library.
Yeah, the library.
It was supposed to be Jillian/Gillian.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, the
Gillian Thorpe? Gillian Thorpe?
Jillian Thorpe.
corp.
Are you representing the library, Al?
Huh?
Are you representing the library on this?
Do we even
I
know
got
what
enough
they're-
things to keep me busy.
Do we even know what they're asking us to do?
There's a retaining wall or something like that.
Retaining
in the
wall, the
back?
retaining
It's a
wall.
is it just the retaining wall in the rear or along the sideline, the side property line too? The one on the side looks sound, it's the one in the
Yeah,
rear
it's
along
falling apart.
Fishkill Avenue that's,
Yeah.
It looks
From
like it's
the
just the one in the back,
The clips are-
but,
Um,
okay.
Okay.
I think it's,
do I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss the, responses from the RFP?
Sure, should we just let them know that that's what we're doing?
You want us to
We
leave?
discussed this before you came in, but we need to go into.
Who leaves, us or you?
We guess.
You.
Oh, okay. Sometimes you go into a back office.
We don't have a back office.
we don't have an office.
We barely have a front
Tom?
office.
All right.
remote
Well, all right,
office.
I have a vote RFP, we received a response that we're all leaning towards, we all seem to think that the consultant, it's Nelson Pope and Voorhees, I don't know if you know him,
Yeah, that's
Summer,
Long
New York.
Island, right?
okay.
The headquarters is in Long Island, but
Yeah.
this office is in Suffolk.
Oh, okay.
So, we will now, there's still some adjustments, and we think that, there needs to be some cutting back on the scope of one of their consultants, sub-consultants. But, this is the team that we, do I have a motion to recommend to the Village Board of Trustees that we sign a contract with Nelson Pope and Voorhees based on the adjustments to their estimated fee?
Some of,
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we now have a consultant. As soon as we have a signed contract between the village and the consultant,
In their
we'll
proposal,
feed
they
them.
haven't seen it yet.
well,
Yeah,
yeah.
we haven't, I mean, they haven't seen any of the materials.
No, I understand that, but oftentimes in proposals, you offer a timeline, you know, and,
They've offered a level of effort in terms of hours. And, they know that this is going to be a somewhat more complicated EAF than is typically received by the village on matters such as this.
Are there any other boards that you guys need to go to?
no.
Zoning board or okay, all right, so just us, all right. Okay, that's it. And, you know, we will copy you on all of the, communications with the consultant, just so that you're aware of what they're doing. And basically, at this particular point, it's gonna be getting information over to them. In addition to that, we'll be putting the information up on Chris, you know, for ship out to comment, so that they can take a quick look and, yes.
Does the consultant need access to the property?
At some point they will.
Yeah, because they're, one of the things we're assuming is that both the environmental consultant as well as the architectural consultant will want to do a site visit, but we'll coordinate that with.
Okay. Do we need to sign anything to give them our accord or something like that, or?
Well, you know, we will term loose, you know, Tom Ptasek is, he's local, so we'll coordinate through him.
Padlock code is 8888.
888. As long as it's not 666.
No.
Okay.
By the way, is the house haunted?
Oh, we have
Yes,
not
they-
slept there, but my son-in-law is sleeping there
Oh,
tomorrow night.
So I guess we'll find out.
We will
We'll
find
get,
out.
we'll
Freezing
see if
his
there's a
buns off.
ghost.
Yeah,
Wow.
He's from Vermont. He's like really tough.
By the way, I
He's
saw
staying
someone
there with
had
his dog.
someone had a 508 area code in the application. Me too. I'm from the 508.
I'm from 508 area.
I'm from Foxborough.
Well, we lived in Concord for a long time.
Oh yeah. Okay. Great.
We did a historic house
I was
renovation.
gonna say
in
there's a
Concord.
lot of historic homes in Concord,
So
Lincoln. Yeah.
we've done this once before.
Oh, that's great.
You know, in addition to archaeological, we will require parapsychologists to go through
Mhm.
and check for ghosts and things like that, and
That's fine.
document any historic
So,
ghosts.
so
and
what's the
Paranormal
procedure?
Society.
Do we have to go to a special board if we do find a ghost?
There's a ghost review board.
Sure, people
You
would be
may also need a
interested.
psychiatrist to
Normally
find
just call
out
it
if
discovery
you're
center.
certifiably insane.
George Norrie.
Kathleen and I crawled into the crawl space like
Any ghosts?
No,
This
but
is
I found
before
a horse
Halloween, right?
tooth that I tried to share with your son-in-law, but he didn't take it. So.
That's not
It was the only artifact we found. And some very nice beams.
Well, can I just make unrelated to this,
Mhm.
make a comment on what I saw you do tonight?
Mhm.
You're not really following the proper procedure. Finding something at type 2 action is necessary. Then you need to acknowledge that you looked at the EAF that was submitted, and then you need to have a neg deck, even for a type 2, that this project will not have a negative impact on that, and that's when you end the secret process, when you adopt a type 2. And you made the motion, I don't know who made it a second time, but both times, neither time did you say anything about acknowledging that you read the EAF or that you adopted a negative
are you-
declaration.
Well, yeah, so then what you're saying is that the short form should be filled out.
The short form should be filled out at the very least. That's the least you can do, is to accept the short form, review the short form, and conclude that
It's a type 2.
it's a type 2 because of whatever circumstances dictate whether it's a type 1 or type 2 or it's type 1, type 2, and unlisted. That's what and then when you conclude, when you deliberate whether or not there are potential impacts, then you make a negative declaration. But negative declaration, or a positive dec in some cases, but a negative declaration always ends the process regardless of the classification. Except for unlisted, that's the ministerial acts that you don't have to follow it.
Okay.
You just might have
More
made motions
paperwork.
in your minutes.
We're very new
Say
to
you
this
did that.
process, so
Thank you, Glenn.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, what's next on the agenda?
We need to
Library.
set up a meeting with, well, I'm assuming they're not coming.
The
Good
library
night.
didn't show.
We need to do two things. One, do we wanna have a workshop meeting on the 29th, which is the 5th Wednesday of November?
Hold on. I might be in Pennsylvania. The 29th? Oh,
It's-
no, I'll be home for
It's
that.
after
Yeah,
Thanksgiving.
that's after.
So our
Well
normal,
after.
our normal workshop meeting would be on the 22nd, which is the day before Thanksgiving. But because we have 5 Wednesdays in this November, we had discussed doing it on the 29th instead.
I'm fine with that.
I don't know-
Kathleen said she'd be good with that.
I don't know how
Excuse
many
me.
people are anxious to have things reviewed that we don't already know about, considering it's gonna be the holiday for
Yeah.
a week.
Well,
Are
I'll
you
put it on my
around?
calendar, and then if I'm needed, I will be there. What?
I think more than anything else, we need to wrap up the guidelines.
Yes.
And maybe that becomes a convenient, but you're gonna be off are you gonna be back from England by then?
Yeah, by the 29th?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be back next Friday. I'm gonna be back on the 17th.
All right.
So, Kathleen said that she's available on Sundays. The next Sunday that I'm available is not until the 3rd, December 3rd. But I could meet on the morning of the 18th, which is a Saturday.
Well, let's do this, let's schedule the 29th, if everybody can make that. And basically have it as a workshop for the design guidelines, and see if there's anybody else that wants to come in, as fall, because I don't know, I think, I sort of, I hope I didn't rush him too much, but it seems like, he just didn't have the information and just needed to,
240,
you know.
they're gonna impair treatment?
So you guys are dressed.
I'll tell you
needed
what I have a
spec-
problem, this is what I have a problem with.
Your Irish Watsons, oh, they.
We used to get, when Bujarski was the building inspector, applications would come to Bujarski, and he would, he would refer them to us, okay? But he would go through a lot of the questions, we're getting things that should only be seen in workshop,
Mhm.
that are now being seen for action. And I don't think Jeff is qualified to tell the difference, you know?
He's not,
He's
realistically,
And we're getting things directly from him that the building inspector never sees.
Mhm.
And things that would never pass muster, saying this is far too premature, go back, either go back and develop it more and come back, or you're just gonna go for workshop. Okay?
Well, I think in this case,
But
we
I
saw
don't
it.
think we should be getting referrals on a lot of these things. I mean, we're getting referrals far too prematurely, and we're seeing things that are far too uncooked.
I think that in this case with Mr. Fortier, he was,
Hired a cheap architect.
that notwithstanding, I think he was expecting that we would be able to approve the window changes and the vent moving around thing based on what he brought with him, which was obviously not the case because he didn't have any cut sheets or anything like that. And that's the only reason I can think why he would have gone from our last workshop discussion into an application to get a referral, because we gave him a list of all the things that we need to see on the drawings, but we never then reviewed them to tell him that it was sufficient. You know what I mean? So, and I don't know if he thought that the drawings that he brought today were sufficient, and I don't know.
I don't
what he's
think he
thinking.
knew. I think his architect really kind of.
But also at the
whoever
same
did the
time-
drawings really failed him because
It doesn't really matter whether or not it's. I mean, as far as our process of work goes, does it matter if there's an open application that we can't approve versus just a continuation of the workshop session? It's still, we're not under any time commitment to approve an application or deny an application within a certain amount of time. Are we?
yes.
What's the amount of time?
Once we received a complete application,
Which this is not.
this was
Right.
not.
Yeah.
But once we received a complete application, then I think we have like 45 days to approve.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
But what
the
I'm
way-
saying is
but
to
the
go
way our
to have-
agenda is set up is items for approval first, old business, new business.
Right.
And then workshop,
Right.
okay? And these workshop items can take a really, really long time,
I agree.
because they're raw. Okay, so the people who have things that are really ready to go and are kind of, solidified and cogent to be voted on, are cooling their heels here, while there's other stuff that, is really just in its barely formative stage, that we're going through painstakingly because the people don't know what they're doing yet.
Right.
And Jeff can't decide one way or the other.
But isn't that
because-
also the responsibility of the person who is setting the agenda? I mean, aren't all of open applications reviewed when the agenda's being put together?
Yeah, but I
They-
don't think
they-
Kathleen-
They ought to be, but quite frankly, she's got too much on her plate
Yeah.
right now.
And Kathleen's not an architect. She wouldn't necessarily know to look for that
Right,
detail,
but she knows
especially
what
with all
she-
the other crap she has to deal with.
Okay, we can deal with that later on. It's just that I felt like I was
That's a good
pushing
point,
him, but,
And then
And
again, he's got a side yard setback issue,
right.
that if that's 10 feet, he's gonna have to move that whole screen porch over and make it minuscule and tiny. Come on, I mean,
Right.
I think if they don't approve the
Hearing.
existing plans, he's probably just not gonna do it.
yeah, which means that all of our time on it is wasted.
Well, we still looked at the windows.
Oh,
The only other issue that I would like to raise is that I sent everybody the response we got from William O'Neill concerning. So.
a rare occasion of the two villages seeing eye to eye together. Thank you, Sean.
Well, his wife was trying to, she was
All right.
organizing the entire thing, so.
So I guess the question is that who wants to be the liaison to coordinate between our board and him?
I
I
looked at
nominate
his
Sean.
first response, but I
I'm
didn't
doing
look
it.
at the, I didn't look at the other things that you sent over. He is just asking whether we can,
Well,
He's saying that their deadline is
he
the
wants
17th.
us to bug Maloney to
Right.
get him involved. He wants us to reach out to Shippo and why are you agreeing to this, et cetera, et
Oh,
cetera.
is Shippo agreeing to it?
Shippo is ambivalent towards it, apparently.
Right. Well,
Okay,
the other thing is,
They just don't wanna get involved.
yeah,
Um,
because,
yeah.
well, the thing is that the second
Federal
site that they were
issue.
talking about, I mean, it's above that industrial area off to the right by Fishkill Road.
Well, so there's actually
Oh, no,
three.
that's the highway department. No, the highway
No,
department
no,
is
the
on.
highway department's on the left side.
Going up the hill?
They,
There's three
Industrial-
sites that are.
Industrial,
it's, there used to be a tire shop down there and that changed recently. It's now a body shop or something like that.
yeah,
As you're going up 301,
yeah,
and just as Fishkill
yeah.
Road goes off to the left on the right side.
Oh, the Allen property?
Well, it's more than the Allen property because I think you've got an
I think they
industrial
own
building.
all of it.
You got
though.
the del, you got the
They-
deli there.
That
and the
family
stuff?
owns all of that, yeah.
Wait,
that's true.
what's the address of, what's that address?
Can you,
I don't have it.
yeah,
The
No.
the Fishkill Road site is the highway department.
right.
That's
And
50 Fishkill Road, and that,
and-
that
And
was
that's-
ruled,
And that
I'm
was
talking
ruled
about
out.
Allen
insufficient.
Cole property.
No, they never responded to this guy, at least according to his filings.
No, but the engineering report
Who's
said
Shippo?
that was out of the, that was out of contention.
No. From what I saw in the filings, and it's a question of, if you can go to the email that
I don't
has the
have
link.
internet here, but I'm able to look at emails on my phone.
Okay.
Well,
All right,
thank you for emailing.
you've got 301, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Fishkill, comes in
Mhm.
over here. So the town garage is over here.
right, and that's, the address of that is 50 Fishkill.
Yeah.
Okay, and what they were talking about is having the phony pine tree someplace up here.
Right, yeah. Almost into this, yeah, because the cemetery's here.
No, the cemetery's back.
Well, they were talking about two sites, one here and the other one at Secor and Mountain, which, that's right there at the, I
Which
think
is,
it's very
which is in a
visible.
wetland.
But wait, the cemetery site that they're talking about, that's the one that's on Rock
Spring Cemetery.
Rockledge Road or something.
Rockledge Road? I thought that was over here.
No, it's, the cemetery site is off Moffett. Okay, if you go from Plumbush and you go up Moffett Road,
Right.
Yeah, it's like right in front
Rockledge
of
comes
Plumbush.
off of Moffett, and it goes directly towards the uphill boundary of the cemetery. As a matter of fact, Mrs. Butterfield's tomb
Mhm.
is almost directly in line
Mhm.
with Rockledge. So that thing would be like above her tomb,
Mhm.
just
I
like,
saw the balloon test.
you saw the balloon, I didn't see it.
It's like.
You
if
saw
you're-
it when it was actually happening, or you saw the photo render?
One of my friends took a picture of the balloon test, and she was like, look at how awful this looks.
Okay, so this is
So
the
there's like the
cemetery?
cemetery, you're like
This
standing
is
in the
the
cemetery.
and then this
kinda near the
is
gates, I guess.
15 Rock.
And I mean, the balloon was like
But
way
what
up
you're
above
talking about
the tree
is
line. It's pretty garish.
the spot that you're talking about is up back here.
Yeah, because this is Fishkill Road.
Yeah, this is Fishkill Road, this is 301, the garage is like here.
Right, and then, well, all of the industrial sites are in this area here.
Well, but they're not quite that far, because they're all
They don't go
north
that- they don't
of
go that
Woolley.
deep.
They're
They're
just
all
right
right
here.
The back edge of that whole tire company complex, et cetera,
It's
Mhm.
inside of the
is where
brook.
Foundry Brook runs, and the opposite side of that is the cemetery.
Right,
But it's cemetery property, but it's not the cemetery proper.
It's the
because the
cemetery,
cem-
it's those lots that they sold off, those building lots.
It's the building lots that they sold off at
Billy's
Billy's Way.
Yeah.
Right, and then, because that was part of the cemetery property originally, but then going towards Peekskill Road, that's where the cemetery is.
Mhm.
And this is off of, and Rockledge is off of Moffett. So it's entirely, that away from what you're talking about, from the so-called industrial property.
okay. Well, because, realistically, I don't know why they're picking these particular sites, because the area that they're trying to fill in is up over here. It's the area east of
Because
Nelsonville.
this is a privately owned site that they can buy.
Right.
Well,
That's
no,
what they're
the
picking
other,
up, right?
the other thing is.
As
according
I
to the-
wrote in my original letter, it is a entirely unnecessary.
You're gonna get into you're gonna wind up getting into an argument over whether it's necessary or not, which is really not our particular
No,
thing.
but
Well, it's
still-
not our shtick, but the whole thing is that the two sites in question, the one that's over the rise from the cemetery and the one that's, kind of behind, American Legion, both of those not in our purview, but are in our shtick.
Okay, and that's what we said in the letter.
Yeah, I thought the letter was
We were
great, I
opposed
thought
to
the
both
letter
of
was
them.
great, and I thought the fact that you pulled out some things, it's fine.
Are we making a motion to adjourn since we're all packing up?
No, I was just standing up.
Oh.
I'm
Well,
standing
Gotta
but
up.
jot
the
it
thing
down,
is
yeah.
that who wants to be the liaison, because it sounds like William O'Neill
Need some friends.
needs some TLC.
I can. Well, I'm just not gonna. I'm not gonna be here. So, I'm happy to do it, but I'm not gonna be able to do anything until next
What
week.
is exactly required?
Well, right,
Why don't I read? I'm gonna
Communicate with
read
him?
all of the emails that he sent.
Okay,
I will respond to him, and I will.
okay. If you
And
need,
if I am incapable of doing it, then I will.
if you need a person physically present for something, I'll.
Well, their meeting was tonight, so
Yeah.
and they said
I
they
know, but
weren't
it
even gonna.
overlapped our meeting, so there's no.
I know,
point.
and they said they weren't even
There's
gonna.
There's another meeting coming up on like the 14th or the 17th or something.
The 17th is the deadline for response. Due to
But
some.
there's another meeting coming up
FCC.
between now and the deadline.
Probably, I don't know.
Cause I think it was, where are they holding the meeting tonight? Not in
Haldane.
Nelson, at Haldane?
Yeah.
Yeah, at Haldane, maybe that's.
Probably still going on. Well, maybe not,
Ugh,
because it
thanks.
started at 7.
It's getting late.
Well, they may still be there from that.
Mhm.
okay.
I was
let's
in a
do it
meeting.
that
I was
way.
in a meeting with Sean Patrick, and he said that when it was originally going to be like on their road,
Mhm.
he was very hesitant to become involved because it was adjacent to his property.
Well,
But
you should have his husband do it then.
well,
I
if
mean, what
it's
the hell are spouses for? If
Well,
O'Neill's,
no,
if
he-
O'Neill's wife can, if O'Neill's wife can do it, his husband can do it. There
his
you go.
husband is not a congressman. He's saying he he was very hesitant to become involved in his capacity as a congressman
Right, 'cause
because
it
it was
looks
on
bad.
his property.
Yeah, it looks bad.
But so we may, if it is moving to the other side of
I
the,
know, it's so cool.
if it's moving to the other cemetery, to our other historic cemeteries, then we might have a little bit more luck in getting him to
Well,
do whatever
actually,
it is that he's supposed to be doing.
I'm-
Reach out to the FCC. I don't know.
I'm sort of curious, because they're trying to fill in that slot along 301. Why did the town not respond to this? I mean, just
That I do not understand. I was very surprised to see that in the engineering report.
Yeah,
I
I
do
mean,
not know.
it really doesn't. I don't think anybody is all that concerned about aesthetics there, and it's more in the strip that they're trying to fill in.
That's something I was curious about too, like that whole like strip that runs the length of the pump houses, like the municipal water pump houses, Catskill, whatever the hell Aqueduct thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's like open land, right on this stick it there.
Well, because then it would be in the middle of the Highlands Park. You're talking about like when you're hiking up Wall Hill and like
well,
the
that
next
oh
street
no,
up
next.
the.
But I'm thinking more like 301, where like you can see the pump house as you're like coming down Fishkill Ave Road.
Yeah.
You're talking about
Road.
to the right of Fishkill?
Yeah, like you see the pump house, and you see one on one side, you see one on the other.
Yeah, you see one up on
Distance.
Avery
It's
Road.
like, hey,
yeah,
there's a nice
yeah.
clear spot. Stick it there. Why does it have
Yeah.
to be near the school or the cemetery? It's just weird.
I don't know.
But
Well, then
Sean
we
will
want-
find all of that out.
I will
Well, it might be that
figure
New York
out
City owns
our
land.
next steps.
Yeah, in New York City owns land, they would never let it. They would never let
They
it
do.
happen.
I look because
And they
I
have
always.
2
Yeah.
million freaking lawyers, and that's why they never let it.
I noticed on the tax maps because I spent a lot of time with tax maps lately.
I don't
And,
wanna know why.
Why, are you suing someone?
what?
Are you suing someone?
No, because
Oh.
I have to write the minutes. I need to put in the tax map.
Oh.
So I always no.
I think you
But
were
I would
planning
know.
some sort of a
If you
coup.
want to sue anyone, let me know. I'll look up the tax map ID. No, but I was surprised to see that New York City owns quite a few parcels up on up 301.
Well, it's the
Well,
whole
they-
aqueduct, I mean,
yeah,
you
the
know,
aqueduct.
Because
you know,
of the
it's that-
aqueduct,
it's the-
exactly,
but it's, And it's the land around it.
Because I was like, this is weird. Why is there like residential property in New York City? And it's like, oh, it's the aqueduct, so they own the land. So that's why the cell tower probably isn't going there.
That's actually kind of surprising to me because I would think New York City would
But like the money,
love to be getting the money out
Yeah.
of a cell tower that was not
they
in
don't
New
care.
York City.
It's not on their
and
turf.
Yeah, but they wouldn't
None-
want it, they
no
wouldn't want it
benefit.
anywhere near their precious aqueduct.
I know, but none of their citizens would complain about it being
No.
anywhere near them.
New York City has
I
nice
don't
water.
think that, I
Did
thought
we
this
actually
was-
vote to adjourn? I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yes,
No, I think we did.
no, we didn't.
I don't understand what
I'm gonna
Mr.
move to
Watson-
adjourn.
do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.